This Father's Day is a very controversial holiday for the libtards.
Oh, yeah, they hate men.
Yep.
You breeder, you. Anyway, it's better to be a baby butcher. That's ethical and compassion and all this crap. Everything that's black is white and white is black for them.
Yep.
Oh, no racism intended. Come arrest me, assholes. Netflix just did an enlightened policy where you're not allowed to look at another employee longer than 5 seconds, otherwise it's harassment. Idiots.
You're past the 5-second look limit.
Yeah, who's going to time these? What a bunch of morons, by the way. What do you think of the wonderful IG report?
No, what a joke.
It's just like the Hillary exoneration, all the reasons why it was all crap, corrupt, partisan, yada, yada, and then the conclusion is what? Nothing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah. It's a complete sham. We've investigated ourselves and find ourselves to be not guilty.
Yeah, outrageous. This is why we needed an independent counsel, and maybe some of the Republicans will wake up and call for this instead of constantly putting more time and effort into legalizing illegals than anything else they do on their entire agenda.
Yep.
Disgusting.
Yep.
These a-holes just can't stop catering to their big donors and these illegal crooks.
There's a brilliant YouTube video, and of course, YouTube didn't take this one down, but they censor the hell of it by taking all the features away. You can't comment on it. There's no share button. You can't like it. So it's like unbelievable. They're little gulag.
Yeah, they're fascists.
You know,
they're little fascists. Leftards are fascists. They never were anything but.
Yep, but
Socialism and fascism go way back together. Read Hayek on the Road to Serfdom. It's a brilliant expose which shows that Hitler's fascism grew out of the socialist Marxist movement. The real fascists are the leftards.
Yep.
Always were. And still are.
Yeah, this article is fantastic. I'll email you a link. Well, I put it into an article because the video is so hard to get off YouTube. And I put 2 different sources for the video, but the video is called...
Oh, hold on a second. Just a second. I keep getting a phone interrupt, and I don't see who was calling, so... Okay, you can go on. I'm here.
Yeah, so the video is called Immigration and War, and I wrapped it in an article called... Immigration
and War?
Yeah, so it basically indicates that immigration is actually a greater threat than war.
Yeah, it's an invasion.
Yeah.
It's a wholesale invasion by an alien doctrine.
Yeah.
You know, they come here and they vote socialist. We don't need that.
Yeah.
It's an overthrowing of our government through the invasion of our borders.
Especially when the Democrats do the cherry picking. If anyone comes over escaping from socialism, they'll be immediately sent.
Yeah, demon rats are filth. They're demon rats.
No, that's putting it mildly and politely.
Now, they are yelling about we need compassionate depopulation. I said, great, you libtards can lead the way and depopulate themselves to save the planet, in quotations, and the rest of the world will live happily in peace, higher security, and more prosperity, which is the result that less liberalism brings.
Yep.
So I had an acquaintance of mine this morning call me and start ranting about we're separating children from their mothers at the border. And I said that was Obama's policy. I don't care. Trump's a pig for doing it. I said, great, then you agree with me we should build the wall and that'll stop people from getting separated from their families. She hung up the phone. Oh, God. I just, They don't want solutions. They want to import the third world here, dump them on our social services, destroy capitalism, and have these vote for handouts, vote socialists, and destroy our economy and our country. That's what they want. I mean, there's no voter more ignorant than an illegal alien who doesn't even read in their own language, let alone speak ours.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, the Democrats are educated voters. Yeah, not 90% of them. Hello?
Yep.
Not 90% of them.
Well, even...
And the ones that are educated beyond their intelligence.
Yep, the intellectuals.
Just like William F. Buckley Jr. said.
Yep.
Liberals are educated beyond their intelligence.
Oh, I didn't know there was a William F. Buckley Jr. I just thought you...
Now, Reagan said it's not that liberals don't know a lot, it's that what they know is wrong.
Yeah, so much of what they know isn't so. Yeah.
Oh, man. I asked a liberal friend who teaches at he's a college professor. He always talks about deconstructionism and libtard crap, and I said, well, how do you evaluate a good theory, a good philosophical theory from a bad one? He said, by how well they write. I said, well, you can write magnificently and write crap. In other words, you can have the skills of a writer, where all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted and paragraphs are right, and it can even be entertainingly written, but it can be promulgating absolute trash, fantasy, and rubbish. So I said, how the skill of the writer has nothing to do with the validity of his ideas. I got a deer in the headlights look. I mean, why do people think the two go together? They don't. Ideas are proven in the field of reality. What works and what doesn't work. And socialism, for all its nice-sounding crap, has never worked. Argentina, Venezuela, Greece, you can look at them all. Oh, well, it works over in Sweden. Well, it wouldn't if we took away military protection for them, and they had to spend money on that.
Not only that, but all these places do pay-to-play immigration. So they charge...
Exactly.
So anyone that comes in has to pay a ton of money into all their stupid crap. Except for the phony refugees, so now they're like Sweden's falling apart all over the place.
Yes.
Oh, and the other thing is...
We have endless bombings and killings in France. It's not in the news. You have bombings and killings in England. It's not in the news. You have bombings and killed by Muslims.
Do you know what else is kind of cute? Every time the friggin' Bernie's breadline burnouts mention their version of socialism that works, it's a homogenous white country.
Yeah, well, look at him. I mean, his wife is in trouble for stealing money from a college in Vermont. He never worked a day in his life till he got into politics, and then now he's rolling in money. He was considered a mooch his entire life. Useless. And now he has a paid-for platform where he mounts this rubbish. The problem is, like the magnificent Margaret Thatcher said, socialism's great till you run out of other people's money, which is what's going to happen. Liberals treat the economy like it's a fixed pie. It's only going to be this big and it's never going to be bigger, and you need to just distribute the wealth evenly. Well, if we took Zuckerberg's $50 billion, and let's just say there's 40 people in America who are multi-billionaires like Zuckerberg. If you took Zuckerberg's $50 billion, he's the one that wants everyone to have an income, without doing anything for it.
Basic income, yeah. I tried.
A basic income.
Yeah,
okay, Zuckerface, what are you doing with your $50 billion? Why don't you redistribute it and see what happens? Well, $50 billion will equal $375 for every adult in the country. Can anyone live on that? One-time payment? Now, if you have 40 people with $50 billion, if If. I don't know how many billionaires there are in this country. Not many. Let's say there's 40, which I think is an overestimation. That's 40 days of $375. Anybody can live on that? Let's see a show of hands. They can't do math. They're idiots.
Yep.
So here's the thing. You don't treat the economy as static. I mean, it's static in libtard societies, but a capitalist society is always growing the pie. It grows the economy. The GDP increases in a good economy, not no garbage's economy because it was dead, and more people making more money means more prosperity for everyone. All shit levels rise, even the poor. I don't care how much people are making on the higher end. Everybody is doing better. That's what matters. And there's a bigger middle class in capitalist societies. That's a given.
Well,
It can't be argued.
The other thing that's amazing is all these morons are programmed by Marxists to talk about and moan about the 1%, the 1%. And it's like, well, if you collect or earn total in working and welfare more than $31,000 a year, congratulations, you are the 1%.
Yeah. It's crap. Their talking points are garbage because they don't even know what they're talking about. And if you stop and do the math with them, they don't even understand math well enough to say anything about it. Well, that can't be true. Well, go research it. Come get back with me. You know, and nobody's gotten back with me. It's crickets. They don't want to know reality. Libtards live in a fantasy world. Everything they believe is the opposite of reality. And they believe it because they're emotionally motivated to believe it. It has nothing to do with facts, reason, logic. None of those things matter to libtards. Because if they did, they'd never vote Demashit.
Yeah.
I mean, God. So, you know, the professor I know is a product of the education system, or I should say the indoctrination system. Never worked a day in the private sector, has no clue what a rich person is, has no clue how people become rich. And most of the people who try to become rich don't make it. And nobody pays for their failures. They don't get reimbursed for failing. They take a risk. It's a big risk in the private sector economy. The people that take all the risks, they deserve to earn more. The people who make a lot of money work around the clock. A lot of times they go without while they make sure their employees are paid. So starting a business, getting a bigger business is hard work. It isn't until you become a super huge business that gets government handouts that you are isolated from this. So the big CEOs from the major corporations are also clueless. They think corporate cronyism is the only way to go, whereas instead of getting government handouts, they should be fighting all the regulations, all the high taxes. But it's easier to get a government handout and pay for stupid rhino Republicans who will give them to them.
Yep.
Which includes illegal, cheap labor at the taxpayer's expense, because we pay for all the social services that we just get. Because look at it, minimum wage people, they can't afford an apartment in most states. So they're on social services. Their children are on social services, and the hardworking middle class pays for them. It isn't fair. That's not fair. California, it has the biggest income gap of any of the 50 states, and it's huge compared to the next runner-up. It has the most poor people, the most uneducated people, and a middle class that's shrinking so fast, it's turning into a banana republic.
Yep.
You got people who are multi-billionaires like Zuckerface, a moron. Just listen to him speak. I mean, an idiot.
Yeah, that guy's a friggin' buffoon.
Steve Jobs was smart. He was a Renaissance man. He knew what he was talking about. He disagreed with Obama, and Obama went after him and destroyed him using Hollywood, mostly. vile person, Obama. Evil. Vindictive. Just like Shitlery. This Mueller witch hunt is just more of that. Leftards, when they don't get their way, they seek to destroy people. They're destroying Flynn and his family, dozens of other people caught up in this witch hunt. They don't care. They're trying to squeeze Mueller so he'll invent some lie against Trump. So far, he hasn't invented any lie. He doesn't have anything real to give them. Do you think if he had something real to say, he'd still be in this vise? There is no evidence of collusion. They're destroying Manafort. They're destroying Flynn and a whole bunch of other people out of rage because they haven't gotten their way. And oh yeah, Mueller fielded crap against Manafort to his criminals, cronies in the New York justice system, which there is no justice in New York City. That's just a corrupt bastion of leftards. So, the judge found Manafort guilty of tampering with witnesses in a 30-second call. Really? Really? So now they put Manafort in jail because they want to break him. They want to destroy him financially. And they couldn't do that with an ankle bracelet because he was still working from home. So now they put him in prison to, deny him his ability to make an income.
Nice.
They're out for blood over nothing. Yep. Meanwhile, Shitlery sails free.
Oh, I know.
All these crooks. And, saying that is destroying our legal system, our justice system, our intelligence system. It was destroyed long ago by the libtards. Now we're just lancing the boil, letting all the pus out. Okay, we're lancing the boil, let the pus out. The Democrat pus is draining out. Lancing the boil is a healing thing. Cleaning up the pus is a healing thing. You lance it, and in this case, you take the pus, Mueller, Comey, Strzok, Page, Brennan, Clapper, Yates, Powers, Rosenstein himself, an old crony of Mueller's and Comey's going back to the Whitewater scandal. These are Hitlery protectionists for the last 3 decades. Did anybody know this?
Yeah,
Did you know?
It's not going to happen on the news. Well, I knew about Comey.
Comey and Mueller and Rosenstein worked together defending the Clintons for 3 decades now.
Nice.
It's all the same band of crooks. Oh, that's just a coincidence, right? Yeah, it's all a coincidence. It's a coincidence that Strzok was in charge of the Hillary investigation and in charge of the Mueller investigation underneath Mueller until his vile emails were exposed, and he omitted the one that's in this report. We're going to stop Trump. Oh, but there's no bias. No bias in a pig's eye, right?
Yeah, it's not a bias. It's only a conspiracy.
Oh, it's not even that. It's a big nothing. Well, I think I'll believe my lying eyes. Thanks.
Yeah.
What a bunch of jokers. Jokers. Yeah, there's no bias because you said so. I don't think so.
That's not a bias. Everyone hates Trump.
Yeah, sure. Oh, my God. That is their attitude. I mean, a friend of mine and another friend of mine who I haven't talked to in a long time. Did I tell you the word she got about the bison?
Yes.
Yes. She can't talk to either one of us now because she's so outraged that anybody she knows voted for Trump. What the hell? I mean, what kind of bubble, number one, do these people live in? And she's so outraged to find out that normal people she thought were her friends voted for Trump. And she cannot understand it. It's crazy.
Yeah, the delusions are pretty deep. Yeah, the programming's
These
so deep.
people are crazy.
Well,
No, I know why people voted for Hillary. They don't pay attention much. Their only news source is the corrupt media, which is the propaganda mouthpiece of the DNC. They normally don't spend a lot of time researching things, and they're vastly ignorant. Even if they think they're good people, they're ignorant of what's going on. Not your average Democrat that I know. Because the media is so corrupt, you have to go out of your way to find out what's really going on. And these are people who don't do that. So they get deeper and deeper and deeper disconnected and in denial. And then when they do encounter the truth, they can't digest it. It's like you can eat a whole cow if you do it piece at a time. But when you're forced to swallow the cow whole because you haven't been eating it little at a time, then you can't do it. That's what these Democrats, who haven't been paying attention, who don't understand what's going on, who vote Democrat, and then suddenly encounter the truth, they can't deal with it because it's too much for them to swallow. I'm being charitable.
Oh, I know.
Discussion, because I think that it's criminal not to inform yourself and to vote stupidly. I think, the whole country suffers for people who don't inform themselves. And now that the media is corrupt and has proven itself to be corrupt with anonymous sources and endless retractions and lies constantly and in-your-face partisanship, it's so bad now that if you don't see that and go and try to get the whole story, you're liable. You're part of the problem. Now that I don't excuse. You have to be really out of touch. And this is the same person who for years was telling me, well, I don't have time to keep up on these things. And that's true. She didn't have time to keep up on things. So she should think about what she had already told me. She doesn't have time to keep up on things. And her news sources are pure poison.
Oh, I got to tell you an opposite story. I have several friends that knew me since, going back to the 90s or back to early 2000.
Yep.
And they are now amazed at how right I was about everything. Because back then they thought I was like kind of the conspiracy.
No, right. We would have open discussions like that. Nobody was trying to shut each other down. We could agree to disagree. I also said to TM meditators one time, I said we were coming out of a meditation session where tapes of Maharishi were being played, and he was talking about the spirit.
Yeah.
He was talking about the spirit precedes matter. All matter is crystallized spirit, crystallized consciousness. Okay, so consciousness is first. Consciousness exists before things become matter. Matter is woven out of consciousness. He went into a long discourse about this in one of the tapes we were watching on one of our meditation courses. And we walked around in the garden afterwards, and I said to a bunch of people with me, women, I said, so life precedes matter. They all said. I mean, this is like it was from Monty Python. And I said, so life is life at conception. Then there was dead silence. I said, in fact, you say life precedes conception, so certainly it's life at conception, which means any abortion is murder. Dead silence. Dead silence. In my conversation about this with I said, well, when do you define something as life? And she said, when it can live outside the womb. Well, even a full-born baby can't live outside the womb without parents taking care of it. So what, it's not life until it's what, 26 living on its own?
Yeah, moves out of, or in today's world, 38.
Which means, by the way, most liberals, because they're still living in mom's basement, aren't life. They aren't human life. They're not living on their own. I didn't say that to her. This is a modern thing. But at the time I said, so, okay, well, you call it life once it can live outside the womb, which includes, if it's born early and put in an incubator. Because she essentially meant outside the womb. And I said, you realize that as our technology improves and incubators get better, we're going to keep babies alive at an earlier and earlier age until we're going to be generating them in test tubes and growing them outside the womb from conception, when it becomes a fertilized zygote, through its entire gestation. So is one of those not life, or is it now life from conception because it can be grown outside the womb? See, this is the problem with liberals deciding arbitrarily what constitutes life. It's illogical.
Well, another thing they can't handle is they think that squatters have rights to people's homes when they show up. But
they have a right to be shot.
Yeah, but here's
they have rights. They have a right to be shot or vacate the premises. Those are their rights.
Or both. But that when it comes to my body, my choice, it's like, no, it's your body is your property, but you're basically the landlord, and obviously you don't believe landlords have any rights.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But my friend had to concede that the definition of life when it comes to an unborn child is based on a person's convenience. It's the baby if you want it, and it's not if you don't. Well, that's a pretty hypocritical view. And so most liberals try to say things like, well, it's life when it can live outside the womb, without thinking through what that means. And so this was a person who was a liberal, who I was friends with, who I could have a conversation with. It's not like now they just start screaming and calling names. Who had to concede certain arguments. And so then her thinking had to change on these things. Now, she wasn't willing to concede that a woman shouldn't have the right to do this, but she couldn't use those excuses. Over the years, guess what happened?
Sure.
She first became a libertarian. Okay?
Okay.
She's a conscientious objector to liberalism now. And now liberalism doesn't even look the way it did in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Liberals are complete lunatics now. They're the kind of people that the classical liberals would have just not had anything to do with.
Well, they're the ultimate in illiberal.
Yes, they're fascists.
Yep.
They've become fascists. The socialist thing leads to fascism. And so here we are. They are fascists. Antifa, fascists. Using violence to suppress their opponents' political opinions, fascism. Okay, deciding that Christians should be jailed for their faith or don't have a right to vote or any other thing, fascism. Pure fascism. And the thing now is, because liberals cannot argue their positions logically, they just seek to destroy you. That's it. They can't defend the indefensible. They've been exposed, so now it's just fascism, force, controlling everything, shutting you up, shutting you down, destroying people who disagree with them, shutting down their businesses, boycotting their businesses because they disagree with you, boycotting or shutting down, using the EPA to destroy conservative-run businesses like Gibson Guitar, using the IRS to destroy groups that organize for conservative causes, using the DOJ, the NSA, the FBI, and the CIA to spy upon and destroy political opponents. Fascism. Fascism.